All right, I have a Melissa on today, and Melissa, I am so excited for you to be here. This is awesome. You're doing a great deed, just sharing your wisdom and that experience with my students, and what I hope will be as this grows wider to a lot of students across the district and possibly even the state. But without me stealing the limelight, let's introduce you. So why don't you kind of give us an introduction to yourself, a little bit about your background once you left high school, and kind of what you're doing now?
Okay, so Melissa Houston. I am entrepreneur. I'm actually self-employed as a consultant. I'm working with a business in Oklahoma, National Background Director, Marketing and Compliance. I don't have a degree, school dropout who went back to get a GED after leaving. I chose because I had to take care of my grandfather. He got sick. And so I kind of missed the graduation. I tried to go back to for a while, but I was a single. It was a little tough. So dropped out and started down her path. And the good news is you can get to where I am doing the things I've done. But my journey is mostly customer service and sales. That's something that really is utilized across all industries. There is no or market that doesn't those opportunities to be filled in. So that's what I did. I sold the most chocolate bars for my elementary school fundraiser, which I used to secure my first newspaper sales. I went door to door selling the local newspaper back when it was still kind of safe to do so. From there, I got on telemarketing sales. I sold magazines and outsold for the whole year in 3 months. And I got to go on an all expense paid trip to Mexico. Really cool on a cruise. From there, I used information to land my first recruiting role, which was selling recruiting services to local businesses. We'll help you if you need. And all of those little steps up the ladder then create the opportunity to turn that recruiting position I was in into a background screening. The owner of the recruiting firm I had been working for at the time asked if I would be interested in the background screening firm because I was so good at sales. And so it just kept growing from there. And I learned that new industry based on that one skill set. So that's the long and the short of it. I'm happy to dive in anywhere else you'd like.
So what I think is incredibly powerful about this is that you dropped out, so you didn't complete high school, but that hasn't stopped you because you did go on and get your GED, and now you own your own business, right?
Right. Yep. New business operators and owners, they come to me for my advice, and my only business is business going other people's businesses. But I've been able to develop my skill set so much, me constantly to have those conversations.
I think that's absolutely incredible, and this is I don't talk too much about this just because it doesn't usually come up. But I myself, I dropped out, also got my GED, and I was roofing. I fell off a roof, and I got bit by a dog. And I thought to myself, and this is, um, when we did career day at the school, it was, the colleges came out and said, oh, you can go to engineering and you can go to, and I was just like, I just don't really like none of that really just I didn't want to do any of that. And then I just kind of lost interest in school altogether. And so I just basically quit going. And but when I fell off that roof, I thought to myself, okay, I got to do something different. And so ended up going to college and becoming a teacher. And then now that I have realized that there are so many careers, as so many of you, the professional women coming out, and just those in leadership, and like for yourself, where you are an entrepreneur and a CEO, like I love how strong that is, because you're like, you know what, I'm not letting anything stop me, and I'm going to be successful. So I think that's a testament to your character. Absolutely.
Thank you. Honestly, I mean, the biggest drive for me was venturing out on my own was to get remote work. I've been doing it 15 before it was really cool and everybody, and I did it because I had 4 children at the time. I wanted to It's a lot easier to take your lunch break at home and do your dishes and vacuum and that sort of thing. And so I was looking to kind of be super mom, but it has evolved over having a very comfortable working environment, being able to work in my pajamas on the days I want to go out and catch sunrise like I did this morning and I posted on LinkedIn. The flexibility and know that there's people out there who are running multi-million-dollar companies calling me saying, hey, can we, that's a value just to know that I'm doing, I'm helping other street through. And for me, that's what motivates me. I like to be able to do, and there's no degree that says, hey, you're the person who can help everybody they're not seeing. There's definitely value in experience because I see those things that the degree can't teach.
Right, absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, kind of break down, kind of what is your typical? I know every day probably looks a little bit different, but what does a typical day to day look like for you?
For me, I'm in charge of a couple of things. So marketing is one. I get to play on social media, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
But just working to make sure that our clients are getting the information they need, whether that because we work with court records, the coming holiday is going to close down a lot of the courts nationwide. A lot of our options that we can provide won't be available that day. So letting them know about that. Talking to new customers about what types of screens they should be doing, what kind of background checks, how is it relevant to the position, making sure people who got trouble with their criminal records before can get employed again. How long the timeout period after a conviction before you can start considering them for certain roles. And so really making sure that those people who have already served their punishment can get a position to be employed, and then meeting those people in the middle in the organizations, protecting the people there and making money in the process. But I get to chit chat more than anything. It really is. It's just listening to what my clients need, listening to what the applicants, need to be successful, and then having the two meet in the middle.
So I'm curious on this because normally, the kids would for a career they go, what does the salary range look like? But you're in a unique position, so I think the alternate question to that is, I think it's an interesting niche that you're in, which is a much needed. It's in high demand. How do you market your company? Like, how do you drum up demand and make people aware of your brand?
Well, there's two facets to it. So one is my personal brand where I reach out to individuals and what their needs, and then there's the background screening brand, which I'm in a role of for my client. And so with the background screening brand, they usually seek me out.
Okay.
The mouth is really helpful, but it's just your brand out there and being consistent. Whatever you do, and I tell everybody this: the best way to move forward is to document and act. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you're a waitress taking an order at a table or you're a CEO who just had $1 million meal or a meeting, a meal, going out to dinner with this client you want to capture, you're still taking documentation, you're taking notes, and then you're acting on the notes, whatever that is. And so if you can get that down, that's what I do most often. I listen, I engage people, I talk to them, customer service, play on the internet, doing marketing, engaging on other people's content. And then it's just writing on what they're looking for. What is their pain point? Trying to solve that. And that's industries, really, whether it's consulting or background screening, they do cross over so much.
Yeah.
Fixing somebody's problem, whatever that problem may be.
Well, that's awesome. So I know every business kind of looks different, and certain businesses require more funding to start up and things like that. But if there were some young ladies that said, "I think this is super cool, and I want to work for myself. Like, I want to be top dog." Uh, what steps did you find that made you successful starting your business, and what maybe, I don't know, frustrations, or what are some roadblocks that might have gotten in your way that you didn't think about?
The first hurdle ever is just knowing that you can do it. Everybody's somewhere. And so if you look at, they started in their garage and their basement, they started out of the back room of they were renting. but it's just getting started. That's any. And the other part comes back to that documentation and action. I always I wanted to be a teacher for the longest time. And once I was a mom, I decided I didn't have the patience to do both effectively, still. So congrats on being able to do so.
Thank you.
What I always told my children was, they would talk about these grandiose dreams. I want to be in the NFL. I want paid to do this type of task. And so I would say, okay, great. So how do we get, let's look at it from a market perspective. So you look at the finish line that's there. How do you go backwards and just walk back? If you want to be in the NBA, where does the NBA recruit? They recruit from the colleges. So you have to get to college. How do you get to college? You graduate high school with a good GPA. How do you do that? You set good standards in junior high. How do you do that? You learn how to listen to the teachers in elementary. It's really just walking back through the process. Look at the famous people in the industry, those mentors that we are always looking at and following on social media. What did they do? What is their story? Are you just watching their social pages? Are you listening to their story? Because I don't care what kind of bag they have, what outfit they have. It's great and it's glitz and it's fantastic. But because I want my own Instagram followers. So, all you have to do is figure out your goal and then how did somebody else succeed? Let me look at what they did and then yourself, document, then act.
I like that. So I'm gonna, and maybe I'm wrong to assume this, but I would assume that um, you have had mentors that really have kind of helped guide, and especially starting your own business can be pretty scary, and there's a lot of unknowns in there. So I'd be curious your thoughts on how important do you feel mentors are, and what are some of the best ways to go about maybe approaching somebody to be a mentor or just finding mentors, maybe not necessarily just straight out going, hey, Melissa, will you be my mentor? But maybe seeking out those that can provide mentorship.
Absolutely. It comes back down to marketing. I say that, but everything in life really is conversations and sales. You're either selling your idea, your concept yourself, you're selling your recipe for, to the family, your children, please eat your green beans. It literally comes back to just getting somebody to accept what you're trying to put out there. So a couple of ways is one, do it like you said, hey, I love what you're doing. I would love if you would be my mentor. There's nothing wrong with being straightforward. They can tell you, I'm sorry, I do 20 a year. There's a program, there's an apprenticeship, there's an application process. Or they say, you know what, I wouldn't even know how to begin. And that's okay too. Maybe you say, well, can we just chat? But direct is always great for me. I love that, being a salesperson. Be honest about what you're looking for. The other is to go out to your social media pages. If you're looking at a specific industry, use those hashtags. Hey, I'm just wanting to dip my toe into the industry. I'm thinking about starting a business. I'm thinking about jumping into this type of work, volunteer program, whatever it may be. And then hashtag effectively. Are you looking at an industry of nonprofits? Make sure you're nonprofits. Tag the top 5 nonprofits in the industry. People are calling Goodwill, Salvation Army, a lot of those types of facilities. So use their marketing for yourself. That's the value of the hashtag. Yeah. The other thing is, know what you're asking for. If they say yes, what does that mean for you? Do you want to have conversations once a week to talk about your progress? Do you need them to say, hey, this was my story, and let you figure it out from there? Do you have specific industry questions about trying to get a role in their organization? You need to know what you're asking for. Be very clear in the meeting, because all of the leaders in business, content of a meeting, you outline it, you have a plan. You get more out of the meeting when you do that too.
I like that because there's definitely a difference between we will all have many mentors in our life, and I think sometimes mentorship is I could go ask the math teacher a couple math related questions, and that's a form of mentorship. But I think looking at like and I guess that comes back to what are you looking for in a mentor? Are you looking for like a full-fledged program, because there's sometimes in those there's like a lot of assignments that you have to do. Because I know, for me, if somebody was seeking out mentorship and I was going to donate my time to them, I would want to make sure that they were willing to invest themselves before I was willing to invest in them.
Yep. And being prepared is the best way to show that, right? I'm here to learn. I'm ready to go. I have my pencil sharpened. I'm taking notes. And honestly, for me, I had a mentor when I first went from into background screening. I was with, we were very focused on quality. That was the whole goal and intent of starting the organization. So when we were talking to the person we needed to get it around, pushed that, and he respected it so much that he just took me in and said, you know what, I really want to mentor you. I've been in the industry 20 years and I love what you're saying. I love what you're doing. I love your event. And he adopted me. Now, I've sought out other mentors, people like Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. That's not really for everybody, but he comes from the same kind of place I did, a very low income upbringing. He didn't have education to start, back later in life to go get it. And he doesn't make excuses for himself. I love that. So he's a mentor. We are connected, don't engage by any means, but once I loved him, I went and said, hey, I love you. I listen to you every morning when I wake up. We have to be connected. And he said yes. Jeff Hoffman from booking.com. He's an entrepreneur who made it. He's got more money than most people, and he's still giving back. He's somebody else I sought after. I was invited to a free webinar he was in, and I chased him down after. He offered his personal email in the webinar. How often do you get an opportunity to get an email for a billionaire?
Right.
By just showing up ready with your pencil sharpened. And so never say no to those kind of opportunities, always looking to learn. And then you can have those mentors teaching you without them ever having to actually talk to you directly. Sometimes it evolves to that, and it's shocking how quick. But sometimes you just have to opt yourself in and just follow them and make sure you're engaging in the content fully and taking advantage of what they're giving you for free.
I'm really curious, personally, as far as is is there a lot of competition in the background check? Like, I guess I never, like as a teacher, we have to get a background check every year, and it gets submitted off to, usually the state, or I guess another agency pulls it and stuff. But is there a lot of competition, between like your background check company and other background check companies? I'm just not. How many are
Yes.
okay?
Thousands. There are thousands of us out there.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of shops in the industry. So the fun stuff about my job is it's never the same. Every background screen is different. Every person who gets in trouble differently, different rules, different places. And so it's always changing, and that's kept me interested in the industry. But there's a lot there. I mean, if you look up counties, 3,000 in the US alone, if you talk about the different places, you have different levels of the court. And so then you have to look at different levels and knowing which kind of records are stored at which location. And then what kind of industry you're in. Banking, you can't ever have any kind of shoplifting or theft, ever. Right. But, and but, if you want to be a teacher, no offense to you, I'm not saying you have, but you could have as long as it was far enough back and you've been, good since. And so knowing the different industries and what works, how often three types of screens you have to do in them by state. Now, all companies, no. And so when I really consider my competition out of 2,000 plus, maybe there's 50 that I would say are actual competitors doing the same type of screening. And so there's the bad, there's the ugly, but we do go for that quality, but there's definitely a lot of competition and then a lot of space. Out of 10 employers are doing background check. When you think about that, that's a huge market.
Yeah. And now, did you say
you search of Oklahoma background screening companies and see how many are just in? There's quite a few.
Okay. So what would be a piece of advice, if we have a young lady here and she's trying to determine, of course at 13, their opinions will change, but if they're if they're wanting to start kind of narrowing down what they want to do, what they might want to do, what is your suggestion on starting to narrow down kind of career paths and career fields that they might be interested in?
Oh, it's always been hard for me to answer this because I was the girl at 13 who did my career assessment, and the lady said, "Uh-oh," because I was off the charts on everything from arts and crafts to creative writing to business acumen. It was all there. And so it was always, you could be good at doing anything and happy, or you'll get really bored easily. So what I always recommend to people at this age, after consulting people on their career paths and doing what I do, fluid, build your references, engage with your teachers so they are good references for you, because it doesn't matter what you do for a living. You could sell oranges on the freeway. As long as the people who bought your oranges said you were always professional and kind and engaging and asking, would you like to also try some apples? That's upselling. And so honestly, if I could have had any advice from somebody like me at that age, I wish somebody would have told me start at that fast food restaurant and stay there for 10 years. Let them pay for your schooling. Work your way up through the ranks. Eat the free French fries. Do whatever they offer you. But there's so many fast food organizations who will pay for your college, pay additional training, additional courses. And you get all of the business stuff that is needed in fast food. You're getting the customer service. You're getting upselling. You're getting you can work on retention rates if you're a shift leader, just keeping your employees happy so they keep coming back. And you can talk about how your team never turns over. And so just do your best 100% of the time, and then stay the course. If you can stay with the job, try for a minimum of 2 years anytime you look to shift, unless you really can't turn that opportunity. If you're in a position and you want to draw for a living and you're on year one, but Disney calls, don't say no, I'll call you in 12 months. Just take the Disney call. Please be smart. But a good rule of thumb is keep every job for at least 2 years and give 100%. One of the lessons that I was taught from a young age was my cousin is a CPA. During school, her and her best friend both were in school together. They were on school. My cousin didn't have the fun money to spend that her friend did, so she went to McDonald's and she worked. She had a few months in a row where she was employee of the month. After graduation, they applied at the same firm. The cousin of mine got an extra $10,000 a year because she was employee of the month in her previous work history. She had her value, same education, but there was on-the-job experience that was valuable. You worked for a multinational corporation, and you were a valuable employee to them multiple times over. It doesn't have to be like, oh, wow, you were a fast food employee. No, I mean, honestly, when you think about the scope you're looking for, if you do it well, it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, this was a friend of mine, and this was kind of an epiphany that, as, when we talk about just coming like an aha moment. And where I was talking to him about, the whole like within career changing and careers. And he goes, well, what else, he goes, what else are you thinking about doing? And I said, well, I don't really know. I'm just pondering right now. I said, but like, I'm a teacher. And he said, no, 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 you're not a teacher. And I go, well, what do you mean? And he goes, you are skill sets that you use to finish an objective. And I go, okay. He goes, it doesn't matter if you're a surgeon, if you're a computer programmer, if you work at Walmart, if you're a recruiter, if you're a teacher. He goes, you have skill sets that you use to meet objectives. And sometimes that might mean that you upskill a little bit to gain more skill. He said, but really, he goes, stop pigeonholing within that title. And so that's what, like my son the other day, he wanted, his car broke down and he doesn't have the money to get one, and so he's trying to fix it. So he decided to get a job close to the house. So he's like, I just don't even want a car, and just go get a job close to the house and I can walk up there. And I said, well, that's fine, whatever you need to do. I said, I think that's a great idea, because then you can just save your money and then you can buy something much, much better that's reliable. And he wasn't too fond of going to work for for Walmart. I think sometimes because we're like, oh, it's the evil corporate Walmart, that kind of thing. But he came home the other day and he was so excited. And I said, "What's up?" And he goes, they're they're increasing my pay and they're paying my tuition if I want to go to school. So he wants to go to nursing school, is what he wants to do. And he's like, I don't even have to worry about like paying for nursing school. They're actually gonna pay for nursing school. And I was like, I
Yep.
go, well, and I go, on top of that, if you stick with that, that's a major corporation where it's not like, and there's absolutely nothing wrong if you want to, if you're a cashier, but that's a job where if you do well, kind of like with the McDonald's, you can move up the ranks, and it's a huge corporation, so you can literally do anything you want within the company and live anywhere within the company.
And the other thing is, I love corporations for that reason. If you're starting young and you're smart enough to be young, that's respectable. Because could I go to McDonald's or Walmart or Starbucks today? Absolutely. Is it as valuable to me today to start at that entry level job? Not at all. But had I started at 16 as a barista at Starbucks, for a fact that they only require 20 hours to qualify for healthcare, to qualify for stock options, benefits, paid time off. You also get paid education reimbursement. And so they'll pay for you to go to the University of Phoenix while you're only working 20 hours a week. I don't know a better company setup. Now, if you work there for 10 years, they give you a bunch of discounts and a bunch of other options. One of them is you can get a free check, like a pound of coffee each week. They give you a specific amount you can spend each week, even after you've retired from the company after 10 years, and you can go get your discounts and do this. And so if you start young and do that once, twice, I have a friend of mine who's a Starbucks manager. He did that shift. He's there, did his time, 10 years, and then shift corporation to do the same thing. To level up again, get another degree. And so there's no limit to how you can do this. And all of those skills are transferable. If you look at a desk receptionist position and the front desk counter at McDonald's, you're both using a machine to take orders, to document customer transactions or what was said during the interaction. Then you're executing on it, and you can really look at that. Maybe you're stocking well, you're definitely stocking your bags and your cups and your lids. And so you can really look at how comparable they can be and how transferable those job skills become.
It's amazing.
Really, I love the fast food as starting point because it gives you such a diverse set of skills from the get-go.
Right. Well, and it's to everyone that there's it's mainly when you get on social media is when you see and you think that everybody's like mad at each other, but well, they shouldn't get paid this much an hour. And I always say, well, that's the thing is if these jobs, that it doesn't matter if it's Walmart or McDonald's or Burger King or even like Starbucks, if we look at those jobs as those are starter jobs and they're jobs for high school kids, well, those jobs would be shut down when you need them to be open. And so I think everybody forgets that, when are high school, when are kids at school, when you want to go get your coffee, when you have an emergency and you got to run to Walmart. So,
My husband's the guy at, listen, my husband's the guy at Starbucks when kids are not there. I mean, I'm honestly, it's not just for entry level, and the people that are doing it, the skills are the same. They're just as valuable. And so absolutely agree with everything you're saying. I love that it's almost a fast paced, like a boot camp of the business world though, because you're getting high volume clients, time limits to service. You have to execute well, or you're definitely going to see that person come back because I know I'm hangry at lunchtime. And so don't mess up my fry order. I'll come in kindly, but you will see me again because I want what I asked for, please.
Yeah.
And so being able to handle those complaints, even that's a huge asset for a firm, for a utility company who has an angry customer because the power outage. That's a skill set that they need immediately at the utility company, taking those customer account questions. And so completely transferable. You would never judge the person at the utility company taking those angry calls. Why would we look at a comparable job differently.
So
So
if I ever have, if there's ever a situation to where like there's an issue with a service or something like that, I always, when I call, like maybe it's AT&T or something, but and they pick up, I go, listen, I'm very frustrated. I don't want to yell at you. So can I just speak with your manager, please? Because
I
the person, the person taking your order or the person answering the phone, like they have no control. It reminds me of when I was waiting tables and people would get mad at me because there was like the food was overcooked or undercooked. I'm like, I didn't cook that. But
yeah,
Melissa, let me ask this. If and this will be on the hot spot, unexpected question. If you could
yeah.
give one piece of wisdom, one piece of advice to the seventh and eighth graders that will be watching this, what would it be?
All right, so I'm going to quote myself yet again, and it's
Okay.
because when I was younger, I actually came from a broken home. My mom had a drug addiction problem. She was suffering with depression outside of that. I didn't know my dad. He didn't even really know about me until I was a grown up, and 23andMe helped me find him. And so I was sitting there on the side of the road waiting for the city bus to pick me up, and I was just really sad. And I started to think about the difference of success and failure, just the people around me. Even I come from a huge family. And so I started looking at the differences and choices and what it was that was making the defined difference. And it's on my business card. I'm going to do a little self promoting just to help. Okay, so here's my shiny. I love it. It's fun, guys. You can have so much fun in business. But on the back, it has my quote. I mean it so much that I put it on my business card. And it is: victory and victim both start out the same. It's up to you how it ends. And that's literal and also something you can just kind of contemplate. Every new task, you're either going to win or not. And so it's up to you. You can be victorious or you can be a victim, and you can start writing them both out. And they are literally just a few letters different, but you get to determine the ending. And so either you win and you learned something, or you lost and you didn't. You win and you got the client, or you lost and you didn't. But learning, even if you didn't get the client, means you're ready for the next person. You're ready for the next go round. Not every boxer wins every match, but every time they get in the ring, they're better prepared for the next time. And so just remember that. That's the biggest piece. Don't give up. Learn, write it down, document, and then act on where you failed. Fix that hole.
My when I don't my mind doesn't get blown very often, but my mind is blown that, and I'm totally gonna steal that quote from you. Of course, I don't like plagiarizing, so I'll totally give you credit for it. But
Thank you. I
that
appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, I just was like, after you said that victory and victim is, it's so close together. It's just about the few decisions you make, and how you want to react to things. And I like, yeah, but I've never heard anybody say it like that. And I was like, oh my god, that's brilliant! Like so simple, so brilliant. So man, that
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
Honestly,
Uh,
that's what I get paid to do, guys. If you want to know what it takes business like that, is that to get inside yourself, dig deep, and get a book. Document and then act. I have my calendars, I have my notes, I make it interchangeable. I'm not great at organization. I was the girl who always had my stuff shoved into my desk, and the teacher would pull it out and say, let's find that whatever you're missing. But I've learned that if you learn what's good and bad about yourself, you can fix it. And so having the pieces that I can pull out and put in the back when I'm done with it, so I always have my notes, being able to keep just the two, and then anything above that's great, but I live and breathe by these two pieces because I document and act. And then just remember, you're either going to learn or you're not. And if you don't learn, it's going to hurt again, I promise. So stay positive, find good leaders, write it down, document and act, and you'll win every time.
That is awesome. Well, Melissa, I really can't like thank you enough for taking your time, and I think your story resonates with so many youth, and so many of just the students that I've had through the last 16 years. Just that, and I mean, it's becoming more and more common for kind of those, and I don't want to say tragedy, because it's those experiences, that those heartbreaks, those disappointments, the
The
hardship,
hurdles.
yeah, that really made you stronger, and kind of forged you into, who you are today. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So
And I love to be able to give back. So I hope I inspired somebody, even if just one of them writes it down and runs with it. That's going to be enough for me. But, the reality is these guys are going to hold my future in their hands too. It's just not me. It's them. They're going to be the building block one day. They're going to be in the hot seat having these conversations, telling the kids in the future how to behave and, how to go get those goals. And I'm hoping it's all positive for them too.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I'll be in touch with
Stay in
you, and I
touch.
appreciate,
Okay.
and you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
You too.